Hello and welcome to Forbes India and World Education Services present Expanding Access to Global Opportunities, celebrating 50 years of World Education Services. I'm Mridu Bhandari. Today we have a special guest in the studio who has been leading global efforts in education and talent mobility. WES, or World Education Services, has been helping international students, immigrants and refugees around the world by evaluating and recognizing their educational credentials, enabling them to pursue new career and life opportunities. With its global operations, WES has made a significant impact on workforce inclusion, and India, of course, also continues to benefit from its impact in a big way. To tell us more about this, I am joined today by Esther T. Benjamin, CEO and Executive Director of World Education Services. Esther, welcome to the show. Welcome to India. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be in conversation.
So first up, what brings you to India at this point in time? What's your agenda for the country this time?
In the case of this visit with World Education Services, referred to as WES in India, we're here to always learn and understand what's changing here, what's changing with the market, with the institutions. So my visit is always about outreach to our stakeholders. So whether it is universities or partners, many technology partners, and also meetings with key government officials as well.
WES, or World Education Services, has been in the business of global talent mobility. You help recognize people's educational credentials, enabling them to pursue opportunities in other parts of the world. Give us a sense of all that you are offering in this area and what's the kind of impact that you're able to create in different parts of the world.
Over these 50 years, we have actually evaluated the academic credentials of over 4 million people. And these individuals have brought us nearly 6 million academic qualifications to evaluate. It's a huge number. And when you look at serving that many people across the globe, we've actually evaluated qualifications from over 200 countries all over the world. And that takes a lot of understanding and knowledge of educational institutions. There are about 40,000 different kinds of degrees around the world, and we've become experts at evaluating all of that. If you go further, there are even about 8,000 different kinds of grading scales, and WES has become expert at evaluating all of this around the world. We've also expanded the work we do from credential evaluation to programmatic work and policy-oriented work and even philanthropic work, a nonprofit social enterprise really dedicated to individuals and universities and institutions that are focused on mobility.
In this context then, how important is India for you at this point in time? We are the world's youngest working population, the youngest and the largest working population with a median age of about 28, 29 years. What are some of the unique opportunities and challenges that you spot here?
For WES, such a substantial market and likely to be even more important as the new national education plan is putting in place such innovations in education. We expect to see over the coming decade the doubling of students in higher education. This means there will be even more graduates from India who are prepared to continue their education around the world and also to pursue professional opportunities around the world. Most often, we see a bachelor's in technology, a bachelor's in commerce, engineering, science, and arts. Those are the top 5 degrees that Indian graduates are bringing to us for evaluation. 5 institutions we see are Punjab University, and we see University of Mumbai, Anna University, Gujarat Technical University, and JNTU Hyderabad. These tend to be the top 5 institutions in terms of mobility. There are other rankings based on academic performance and employability and so on.
So what are some of the unique and innovative offerings that you have for the Indian market?
We have a team of people in North America who are really expert in understanding the landscape here. And we also are starting to build up a team in India as well that will be even closer to institutions in India, to the graduates in India, to the families who are looking to have their children study overseas. Will be closer to the market. We also have really important digital partnerships. This week we initiated a partnership with NSDC, the National Skills Development Corporation. We also have other partnerships with digital agencies that enable us to interact with and to verify and authenticate Indian credentials in a very easy way. A number of ways in which we remain dedicated to the Indian market and to Indian graduates alike.
What are some of the unique challenges that you face here that are perhaps not present in other emerging markets?
Well, it's the largest market, and with the NEP, it's even more diverse and expanding by the week, by the day. We have undertaken significant investment in technology over the past several years, and we're a credential evaluation organization going back to the late 90s. We were one of the first organizations to launch a technology, a proprietary technology that could do credential evaluation. That didn't exist before WES initiated that. And over the past several years, we've undertaken a further technology revolution within our own company. And to do that, we have actually partnered with many Indian technology companies. We are actually in about 5 or 6 different states partnering with Indian technology companies on innovating our technology. We are an enabler, and to enable people to pursue more opportunities, whether it's educational or employment-wise, is so important to us, to really be that enabler that reduces barriers.
Absolutely. Well, Esther, thank you so much for sharing those valuable insights with us on the global talent mobility space. And we're going to talk a lot more, but at this point, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll talk about some of the biggest global challenges in driving workforce inclusion and something about immigration and how WES can help immigrants. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Forbes India and World Education Services present Expanding Access to Global Opportunities, celebrating 50 years of World Education Services. I'm in conversation today with Esther T. Benjamin, CEO and Executive Director of World Education Services, a not-for-profit organization that has been in existence for over 5 decades now and is helping students and immigrants around the world settle into new lives on foreign shores with its credential recognition services, its job fairs for refugees, and many such interventions. Esther, as we begin this segment, I want to deep dive a little bit into your personal journey. You are an immigrant yourself, now of course an American citizen. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up.
I come from humble beginnings, and I feel a close connection to India and to South Asia because I'm from here. I grew up in Sri Lanka, and I went to the United States the first time with my parents, and we went there for my father's master's degree. We then went back to Sri Lanka and returned to the United States at the start of the Civil War in Sri Lanka. And I was about 13 years old, and we went back because my father was pursuing his PhD. And at that point, we ended up remaining there. And the career that I've been able to have has been such a blessing. I was able to complete my high school and university studies and my graduate studies. A lot of hard work, and I wasn't a U.S. citizen at that point. I was an international student myself. I became a U.S. citizen many years later. Now I've been working for 30 years. I worked in the Clinton administration and also in the Obama administration as a senior appointee. What a privilege to work in 2 White Houses and to see how policy and international affairs is shaped by the American president and the American people. Over the past 30 years, I've spent equal parts of my career in public life, in the private sector, and also in international nonprofits. And I teach with university students sometimes now, and I teach about working across sectors, about my tri-sector work. And I also share a lot about my personal journey, coming from humble beginnings, but getting to do very interesting work over 3 decades. And the work has actually taken me to about 120 countries around the world. What a privilege. And if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Does your personal journey then, in a way, strike that chord with immigrants? Because WES does a lot of work for immigrants as well. Give us a little bit of insight into the kind of work that you're doing, the kind of impact that you're creating on immigrant resettlements around the world.
There are 6 million international students around the world today. And that number is only increasing. That number is going to get to 10 million before we know it. In terms of immigrants, there are 300 million people who now live and work outside the country of their birth. And then when you look at displaced people and refugees, there are 130 million people. I've been an international student, I've been an immigrant, and I've also had the experience of leaving my motherland. So this work is really personal for me. I feel that I understand the circumstance of the people who come to us. And my colleagues are similarly situated. We have about 400 staff in North America, in New York and in Toronto. And our staff come from about 60 countries of the world, and they speak about 50 different languages, and they too feel that this work is personal.
Are there any examples or stories that come to your mind, perhaps of an immigrant who was facing a challenge and how WES really helped transform his or her life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll maybe share an example from Canada. And in Canada, if you are an engineer who's been trained overseas, WES happens to have these exclusive partnerships and relationships with the regulators in each of the provinces in Canada. Because of these exclusive relationships that we have with regulators, there is a trusted partnership and relationship. So any Indian engineer who is looking to work in Canada using their bachelor's of engineering from India will come to us and be enabled through the evaluation of their qualification to transition to working as an engineer in Toronto or Edmonton or Vancouver. So, and there are hundreds of thousands of people who've been aided in this way as engineers and in many other professions.
Wonderful, wonderful to hear that. You also have some key social initiatives, and I want to touch upon one of those, the WES Gateway program for refugees, particularly those who can no longer access their academic documents. Like you were speaking about conflict or a civil war, you often have to flee the country overnight, and some people lose their documents. What happens in cases like these, and how does WES help them out?
Absolutely. The WES Gateway program is such an important initiative. There are many places in the world where universities have been shut down, their operations have ceased, and maybe they will never operate again. And in some cases, universities may operate from somewhere else. But in about 2015, 16, 17, we were finding that there were many refugees in Canada, in particular, from countries like Syria. And individuals didn't have their degrees with them, or they couldn't access their qualifications. But because we have 50 years of data at WES, it is possible for us to interview an individual and to recreate the academic journey that they would have had in their country of origin. And using these WES Gateway reports, individuals are able to continue their academic and career journeys. And at this point, we've helped over 10,000 refugees and displaced individuals who've come to us, and we've evaluated their credentials from about 8 to 10 countries where the countries have been impacted by civil war or other disasters which have severely impacted the education sector and society more broadly. So we're really, really proud of this initiative.
Right, that's wonderful. And if you look at this globally, what are some of the big challenges in driving workforce inclusion around the world? Because I think more so in the last 3 years, in the post-COVID-19 world, we've realized that we are living in a borderless world. People travel fast, viruses travel faster. So in this sort of a scenario, at a policy and at an implementation level, what are some of the big challenges? What is it that policymakers and perhaps the private sector need to be thinking about more to enable easier flow of talent across borders?
Absolutely. It's going to be about mobility, and WES has been dedicated to inclusion. And when we talk about inclusion, we're talking about inclusion from an education perspective. We are also talking about inclusion from an economic or employment perspective. And we're also talking about social inclusion. And we have to take a multi-sector perspective on driving inclusion. And so we really believe in working with government, and that is government at the national or federal level. It's also government in North America at the state level or provincial level, also local government. It's about working with employers. It's about working with universities and the academic arena. It has to be a multi-sector perspective. And you can only do this by taking this tri-sector, multi-sector, stakeholder approach. And that's how we believe in driving inclusion. So we are about helping education understand foreign credentials. It's about helping employers. It's about equipping employers to integrate foreign trained talent. So it is work that needs to continue, and it's reducing barriers and driving opportunity. It's about driving inclusion.
Right. And finally, it has been 50 years of WES. If you were to look at, say, the next 50 for WES, what would your long-term vision look like? And, what are the investment plans as far as India is concerned? What should we be looking forward to?
Well, India is going to be very important in the next 50 years of WES, and it has already been an important market for us in the past 50 years. We are so proud to celebrate in this historic and milestone year for us that we have served over 4 million individuals from all over the world, and we've enabled mobility. We've enabled opportunities in education, employment, and beyond. We celebrate all of the lives that have been improved in the past 50 years, and we look forward to the next 50 years with boldness and ambition, and we want to continue to be an organization that is grounded. We want to be an organization that is focused on those we serve, and we want to enable mobility and opportunity and inclusion well into the next 50 years and beyond.
Wonderful, and we wish you all the very best for that. And on a lighter note, what's on the India itinerary apart from work?
It is always good to connect with people in India. I enjoy the conversations with leaders and young people and CEOs and many, many others. We've met with government, we've met with corporate leaders, and I'll be meeting with some more university leaders as well. I'll be back in a few months, but it's always about learning and understanding and improving the work that we do. And I'm also really excited to imagine our India presence for WES going forward.
Well, I wish you all the very best for that and hope you have a very fruitful rest of the trip here. Thank you so much, Esther, for being with us here today and sharing all those valuable insights. Well, that's a wrap of this special conversation. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Goodbye.